This is the Night Wolf howling at you, and today we're going to do another retro review. This time we're going to be looking at the Generation 1 PowerMaster Optimus Prime. This figure was released in Japan as God Ginrai, or should say he started out as Ginrai, and I'm probably pronouncing the name wrong. And then when he got the armor, or the trailer, he was God Ginrai. Then later he got the God Bomber and then became Super God Ginrai. And unfortunately, you might be able to see that there is in fact a crack in my Optimus Prime here on the leg. So I might have to see about replacing that later on at some point. I believe I have a second set of the body broken down somewhere. So if I do, I at least have something I can replace it with. Or I'll have to try to get my hands on another broken one to try to use parts from. Although if I do that, I'll have to go ahead and do a video on that too. That being said, this Optimus Prime turns into a robot and a base. If you look on the back here, you can see his PowerMaster. They sort of recreated this in the Titans Return, where they turned Optimus Prime into a Headmaster, or a Titan Master as they were calling them. And then if you got the Japanese version of the figure, they resculpted part of the body to look like the PowerMaster was in place. And then honestly, it just looked better overall. That being said, if we take a look at our Optimus Prime here, he stands in robot mode. You can see the side there. He's a very thin version of Optimus Prime. On the back, we can see the front of the cab and the PowerMaster when he's in this form. You can also pop the PowerMaster out at this point. You actually need him to do the transformation from vehicle to robot, but not robot to vehicle. And then if we take the PowerMaster here, for Optimus Prime, it was High Q. And again, with the Japanese Masterforce show, it was just Ginrai, or Ginrai. And there's limited articulation. The legs kind of move around for transformation, and the arms move up and down. That's it. I would like to see them do a proper PowerMaster at some point. Also, these guns here are designed to work with the PowerMasters. See that little slot there and his little slot on the crotch? So this makes it look like the PowerMaster's actually on the guns. So I just want to point that out now before I forget, because we've already got him in base mode. So the articulation on Optimus Prime here is basically the head can kind of move down a little bit, nod, but that's because of transformation. The wrists here, or the arms, the elbows move. There's no articulation on the hands. But you can do like a complete, what is that, 180? They go straight and they go up straight. You can kind of make him sit a little bit if you wanted. But just be aware that if you put this all the way through, it's going to lock in place. He does have bending knees though, which is kind of funny. So you actually could do a full sitting position with him like this. But again, now he's locked in place, which technically when you put the PowerMaster in here, it pushes that little white thing right there. And that's what unlocks him. His feet also move a little bit. Oh. But that is for transformation, and everything is connected together. To transform Optimus Prime here into his vehicle mode, push his head down, fold up his arms, fold them back like that. This part you can push up, although it'll go up more or less on its own too, really. Fold him in half, push down the legs, and boom, he's in his truck mode. Oddly enough, if you look at it, those are actually screws and not pins on there, so that's kind of interesting. He's also only got 4 wheels and rolls like absolute garbage. I don't know if that's just an age thing with this figure, or if it was always like that. It's been a while. We will set this away aside for the moment. We will leave High Q here. And we will go ahead and take a look at the trailer. Again, it's kind of base mode. You got guns here, guns up here. The hands do not push in on the American version. I believe in the Japanese version, though, however, they did slide down. But if we move over to the side here, you know, there's ramps for vehicles to go on. Ramp there. You can have that in or out. I just left that out because it was convenient at the time. Optimus Prime's head for the super mode. I like the only real place I can think of to store it in base mode is like that to get it out of the way. Anything else is pretty much going to look pretty awkward when you get right down to it. And that's it. To transform this into a vehicle, we pull the guns out. Also, if you wanted to, by the way, there is a hole up here that you could also put the gun in on the inside, so it's a little bit higher, but we don't really care about that right now. So transformation of this base mode into the vehicle mode. Remove the head, push that down, push those sideways like that, so his arms are back there. We will flip them forward like this, and I'm sure you can hear that cracking noise because this is so old. We will flip up the ramps here on the back, and then we will flip them forward like so. This little part here, we will flip up out of the way. And honestly, if you've seen the Masterpiece version of this that came out, I think last year or earlier this year, this is still kind of an awkward piece with that. Now we will carefully, oh boy, bend the legs back into place. I will not be transforming this again for a long time, I'm not going to lie. See, there's that crack again where you can really see, let me see. You can really see it here. I think that might have happened while I was transforming it earlier to get it into vehicle mode. Also, for head storage, while we're at this point, you can pretty much put the head in here on one of these little holes. Okay, so there we go. We've got that into place now. The head is out of the way. We can flip this forward. And you'll notice there's this little tab here, so you might have to actually lift this up again a little bit when you get it there, like that. So basically you fold it in to about here, lift it up, push it down. Then we can go ahead and take the trailer, whoops, attach it to his little hole in his legs. See that? Push that back into place. Now, because he does have lots of weapons, we need to find storage for them, right? So on top of here, we have these two little holes there. And we put the guns to the sides. And we have the trailer finished. The thing is, there's not really a place to put this guy in vehicle mode, really, when you get right down to it. Because remember, his purpose is to transform him into robot mode. Although you could drop down the back of the trailer here. And there's that head. He doesn't really fit in there. Although, if you look, there's a pretty fair amount of space there. The problem is, of course... Oh no, I guess he wouldn't slide down. So we could throw him back there if we really wanted to. And they don't really have a good spot for him to just stand up in here either. Because, like, you might have thought that that little set of holes here would have worked for that. But that doesn't really work either. So realistically, the only decent place, I guess, again, you could throw him in the back of the trailer if you wanted. Is once again, you would just have to put him in here. And push him to the front of the vehicle and just have him sit there. Like that. And again, the back wheels are pinned on and they roll pretty good. The front wheels aren't really rolling at all. But that's our PowerMaster Optimus Prime in his vehicle mode. We can pull that off of there. You know, it is funny because, like, okay, so again, this is locked in place like this, so you can't move it down or back to do robot mode. Then you plug it into here. And then that unlocks that, and I timed that pretty good to get that out. But it's always a pain in the butt. Like, I think, again, because of the age. Because when you look at this, there's this little, like, slot here on the side of the leg. Basically, when this goes back... You can probably see it right there. That is what is clipping onto the side of the leg to hold the PowerMaster in place. But we don't want to do that right now because we want to transform him into his Super God mode, right? Or his PowerMaster mode. So once again, we remove the guns from him, or the trailer. We will pop out the Optimus Prime head, which we had stored back there. And again, you could throw this guy back here as well when he's in vehicle mode if you wanted. The engine part does end up being too big for him to fall through. So we'll close the trailer up, push it like this, where we will now pull this back a little bit so we can drop these things down. Push it back into place because it doesn't do anything else. Move the arms into place like that, and wow, I need to push this back a little bit more. Let's raise this up a little. We shall raise the stakes. Flip that out of the way there. And now, we take the cab mode. And remember that knee bend we had? We push that up. We can put the head into place like that. And then, see up here? He slides in like that. Then we can add his guns to the forearms, or the biceps. So it kind of mimics the old smoke pipes. Put his guns in place once more on his hands. And we will go ahead and just stick Haikyuu back into here. Like so. So there's PowerMaster Optimus Prime in his PowerMaster Super Robot mode. For this one, the head does not move. Well, you can tilt it up like this so you can kind of look down. You'll note, if you can see it there, maybe you can't, the grooves here are what keeps it into place and keeps it from spinning. The arms, though, they do spin around like that. Technically, you can put his arm out to the side by putting it sideways like that when you got the arm part out of the way, but that's it. You can, of course, you could have him do the splits if you wanted. But you know what? I'm going to be honest with you. I have a feeling that if I try to do that again, it's going to break, and I don't want to do that right now. Ultra Magnus saying,
I can't deal with that now.
So you can still twist his arms, or his gun arms here in place if you wanted. And that's about it. So we never really got to see this version of Optimus Prime in the American cartoon series. He only showed up in the Japanese Masterforce series. And actually, I guess he was briefly in Victory as well, where Super God Ginrai, whatever, got turned into Victory Leo. And in the comic books, the Power Masters were from another planet again, where the Transformers were trying to, or I should say the Decepticons, I want to say, were trying to take over the planet for their energy, and then the people on that world had managed to basically poison the energy, and then the Power Masters were actually used as a way to refine or clean the energy before it was used. If I remember correctly from the comic stories, it's been a really long time since I read them, and until that Skybound set for Transformers comes out, I only got sporadic issues. I probably have like most of the run of the Marvel Transformers series. Like I might be only missing somewhere around 10 to 15% of them, but it's all pretty sporadic. And most of them, I'm not gonna lie, I got super lucky with finding them at flea markets for really cheap. That being said, again, it's a shame we never got to see PowerMaster Optimus Prime in the show. The last 3 episodes of the Sunbow cartoon series dealt with the Headmasters and the Target Masters on another planet, in a story that makes far less sense than the Headmaster storyline from the Japanese version again. And I suspect that if this had gone on longer, we probably would have ended up with the Power Masters in that season as well. But we didn't, so it's like tough shit, right? Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this retro review of the PowerMaster Optimus Prime, and please give me a like for nearly breaking my toy trying to get it to move again. Man, so many of those parts are seized up. I do remember it transforming much easier when I was younger. Oh, and I just want to add, there was a reissue of this toy a number of years after Transformers, like when they started reissuing them. In that case, the PowerMaster Optimus Prime also came with the Japanese add-on of God Bomber. Only in this case, they referred to it, I want to say, as the Apex Armor. And I do believe I have that reissue somewhere in my collection, but it is packed away somewhere. If I ever find it, I'll pull it out and show you guys that too. But anyway, I do hope you enjoyed this review, and you did. Please be sure to leave a like. And if you want to hear more of my nonsense in the future, feel free to subscribe. I would appreciate it. I thank you for watching. Peace and love.